Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day and welcome to part 3 of my 2019 EasyGo TXT rebuild. In the last video, we got all of the lithium batteries installed along with a custom mount made for it, and we ran the wiring harness for the MadJax body kit all the way through here and figured out a couple other things when it comes to the electronics where we're going to place things and stuff like that. So in this video, we're going to try to get the body all wrapped and installed, because in the last one I said we were going to be trying to wrap the body. We'll see how that goes. And then along with probably putting the wheels and tires on and then maybe get into the back seat. So let's take a look at the MadJax body kit and all the stuff that it comes with. So right here is one of the two boxes that this kit comes with. This box right here has all of the body panels itself. The other box has all of the plastics like the bag carrier, front bumper, stuff like that, our grill. And in this box, as seen in the last video, has all of the lights, wiring harness, and things like that. All right, so here's all the main body pieces. Again, there are some other pieces like the grill and the back bag carrier, things like that. But these are all the pieces that I'm going to be attempting to wrap. Everything is really packaged nicely in this MadJax kit. This did not come like this. I had already pulled this out and I cut those holes for the speakers. I'll be cutting 2 more on the back part, but didn't come like that. But everything else, it's really packaged nicely. Color's kind of hard to tell in here. It looks darker than it actually does in person. But you got your rear sections, your front fenders. This is in front of the battery compartment, kind of the kick panel, and then the hood over there. So as far as the wrap goes, I'm going to be using this color called Coral Peach from Tech Wrap. To me, looking at stuff online, they just had a really awesome selection of colors. Unfortunately, shipping's kind of expensive unless you buy a full roll. But I'm going to give this a go, see how it looks. It's kind of orange in the light. It gets kind of almost a pink tint to it in the shade. But I think it'd be pretty cool. Kind of a little bit of a pearl into it. And if I don't like it, then, we'll just get rid of it. But gonna attempt to, get some of the pieces laid on in this, get it cut, and see if we can, and see how this wrapping process goes. right, so I just finished installing the body, and as you can see, it is a different color. I really like the blue color that it came in. It's the same color as my last cart, so I kind of want to change it up a little bit. And I ended up having the cart wrapped. My initial plan was to wrap this myself, and after doing a couple panels, I realized that I'm gonna just waste a bunch of wrap and ended up taking it to a shop. But I personally love the color. In the shade, it's kind of more of a pink color, but in the sun, it's kind of a goldish orange, and it just really shows the body lines well. All right, so now that I got the whole body installed and everything, I'm gonna start working on the 12-volt power supply and all the accessories that go with this cart. So I'll take you back here to the back and kind of show you what my plans are. I'm gonna have a lot of wiring that goes to this 12-volt battery right here, and I wanna try to keep it as clean as possible. And so what I decided to do is the screw holes that are on this battery for the handle, I removed those and I made this aluminum plate that I'm going to bolt down to the bottom with some self-tappers, and then it attaches to those same holes, and then I can mount a lot of my wiring to this that I can then bring all the accessories to. So right here is kind of the layout that I'm planning. I'm going to be putting a master on-off switch on this whole 12-volt power supply. The reason I'm doing that is so that when I do turn off the cart, the key's not going to turn everything off because this is going to be wired separate from the key. And so I'm able to just reach in, turn this, kill all power of the 12-volt battery so that nothing drains. And the nice thing too is when the cart's off, I can have this turned on and still run all the accessories, music, lighting, all of that, without having power to the cart where somebody could accidentally hit the throttle and it goes. I'm going to be running 2 distribution blocks, one positive, negative, obviously. And then this is going to be a shunt for the 12-volt battery so that I can run a meter to it all. But this should keep everything pretty clean. I'll get these mounted and we'll put this back in the cart. And the way all this is going to work too is I'm going to have my main positive from a 12-volt battery going into this, then the positive coming out of that into the distribution block, power this whole block, and then I'm gonna have my main negative going into the shunt here, and then all of the negative wires from this distribution block will then go into the other side of the shunt. And then I will have a negative off of this grounded to the chassis of the cart itself, just so that I can use that as a ground point. And this is only 12 volts, so it shouldn't cause any issues. All right, so I hooked up the positive and negative to the MadJax kit. Also, I did bypass this. Comes with a voltage reducer, since most carts would be running either a 36 or 48 volt system. And what I did was just bypass the voltage reducer and wired the positive negative directly into what you would normally wire into the reducer. Since we have 12 volt. So let's kick this breaker on and see if we've got power to the light system. So let's turn on the daytime running lights. And looks like those are working. Do cautions, hazards, both those are working. Looks like they're also working on the back. We'll do actual lights. Got both headlights on, both taillights, brakes. So yeah, it looks like everything's working. And then lights are on. Let's kill this breaker down here. Flips everything off. So I ended up pulling this panel that I made out now that all this wiring is pretty much complete, you know, from the battery to these distribution blocks, so that I can start wiring the rest of the electronics for the cart. Because there's going to be quite a few different things that we wire in this. So I'm going to be putting in an aux beam 6-switch controller there to pretty much turn it on and off all of the electronics I'm going to be putting in here. I have 2 of the battery meters, one for the 72 volt pack, one for the 12 volt pack, which we already wired the shunt in for the 12 volt pack right here. I'm going to be using the C2 RGB lights from Mick Tuning. I have those on my other cart. For the value, for the price, I think you get a great value out of these things. They're very bright. This is the 12-piece set that I'll be putting on this cart. For audio, I've got 4 of the Rockford Fosgate M1 Marine speakers. They'll be powered by this MTX amp. I believe it's 75 watt RMS per channel, which should be pretty good to power this without being too much. I believe this is a Wet Sounds controller that I'll be using just to be able to quickly, you know, skip songs, volume on off, things like that. Ended up having to get this color optics controller for the RGB lights in the Rockford Fosgate speakers. They sell a ton of adapters. I'm hoping that I can just cut the ends off of these and wire in directly to the speakers using this wiring that I got over there for RGB lights. Amp kit here, and then I'm going to be putting in the X-ray kind of speedometer that'll be getting wired in pretty much right here. It should show speedometer, voltage, and engine temperatures. These are actually license plate lights that I'll be putting in the glove box on each side to just kind of illuminate these a little bit. And I'm going to be powering those off of the accessory switch here on the MadJax kit itself. Then I also have this NOCO AC port, and that will go in place of the traditional charge port. And there's 2 3-prong female ends that come off of this, so I can plug both of my onboard chargers into it. And then I can just plug one extension cord into the cart and power everything on. So I'm gonna get started wiring this stuff up. I'm gonna wire up the controller or the 6-gain switch panel first. And then, because pretty much everything's gonna be going to that outside of the amplifier, that'll be going directly to the battery. So here inside this aux beam box, you've got different stickers for the switches themselves, so you can label them if you want. And then a little cover for the panel. This is actually the 6-button panel that I'm going to be putting on. It's pretty compact, which is what I was wanting, since I don't have a ton of room where I'm going to be mounting this along with the battery meters and this controller here for the amp. So that's why I went with 6, not 8, because I have these 6 here, and then 2 additional accessory spots right here on the steering column. And then you've got your main box here with relays. So there's your different relays. It's got extra fuses in here, and you pretty much just plug the hot wires in for each one of them there, and then you ground everything else. And then right here is your extension to go from this relay box right here to the controller itself. So I'm gonna start getting this mounted in the cart. I plan to put it right down in here, and it should fit underneath the amp. When I make the mount for the amp, I should still be able to access this and add additional things if needed without having to pull the whole thing back out. But I think that'll be a pretty good spot for it, and then the amp will go over the top of it when everything's done. So on the switch panel, you've got your main positive wire, you've got your ground, and then you have your basically your remote switch wire, so that this isn't on when the key is turned off, and that way it's not draining your battery. But because I have a battery disconnect wired into this already, I'm just going to use this and connect it to the positive along with this onto the same stud of the positive distribution block, and then I can go just to the negative stud with the distribution block on this, since that block will be grounded anyways. So I'll shorten these wires up a little bit, put different ends on them, and then get those hooked up. All right, so now that this has been wired in, I'm just going to plug in the switch panel directly to the relay box and just make sure we have power and everything. Okay, battery's on. There we go. I can hear the relays kicking on and off. So yeah, looks like we're good to keep moving forward. All right, so now that I've got a lot of that installed, I'm gonna move on to installing the audio system. And I'm gonna start with these speakers up here in the front. The reason I'm doing that is because I wanna check to see if I can get this color optics cable or control box to work with kind of what I'm thinking. Right here is the control box itself. And it wires into positive, negative, and then you've got the control box, and then all of these different outputs. You can wire in eight different speakers into this. You can also get Y splitters too. The frustrating thing about this though is it has all these nice connectors, but what the speakers come with is a connector that plugs into the back, and then just the 4 RGB wires. And so there's no way to plug these directly into the speakers, even though these actually would reach the areas of speakers that I want because they're so close together. So I'm hoping that I can just cut the ends off of these and then hardwire them with a little bit of an extension, because each adapter is like $20. That would be another $80 just to wire in 4 speakers to have some lights on them, which I think is kind of insane. So hopefully my idea is going to work on this, and that's why I kind of want to get moving on to this. This does come with really nice hardware to mount the speakers along with the drill bit for it. So I'll get those going, and then we'll move on to this. All right, so I just quickly spliced the wires off of one of the speaker connectors to this RGB controller. And I just went green to green, red to red, blue to blue, and then yellow to black, just to see before doing all of them if I can actually get this to work. I'm holding the ground on the RGB connector, or the RGB controller, have the positive wired in. So I'm gonna flip this on real quick and see if we have working lights. So I did wire it into the 6th spot on this switch panel because it's the only a 5 amp fuse. So that's on now. Come around to the speaker, and we have lights on the speaker. So it's really awesome. I'm not gonna have to buy all those connectors. I searched around like crazy on forums to see if anyone had hardwired these in before, and I could not find any information about anyone successfully hardwiring them. But they're actually pretty simple, just a lot of small connectors. But now I'll start getting the front speakers wired in as far as the lights go, and then I'm going to cut out the pods for the rear speakers and get those also done. All right, so right here are the 4 connectors that go into the back of the speakers. And like I said, you've got the connection that goes in the back of the speaker, and then it just has your 4 RGB wires coming off of it. And I purchased this to basically extend all of these so that I can extend them all the way to the RGB controller without having to buy all those extensions, which I believe the smallest length comes in 16 feet, which would leave me a ton of extra wiring inside the cart. So now I can make everything clean by using this. Normally I would solder these connectors together just for a more, permanent fix, and really at that point you have no issue with anything ever coming apart. But by soldering these, because I'm gonna have so many connectors all close together, I have to cut a lot of the shielding back in order to get heat shrink thin over it. So I'm actually just gonna be using these butt connectors in here with heat shrink and adhesive inside there, which should be plenty for holding these wires together. I shouldn't have any issues, and then I'll wrap them all afterwards. But I'm gonna start getting these lengths cut out and putting all these together so we can get the speakers lit up. All right, so it's a bit of a mess in here right now, and I haven't heated this up to shrink all this tubing yet, but I spliced all of the extensions in here to the RGB controller for the speakers. And now if I hit the power for it, put the ground on, got light to both of those, and matching light to both of those. So looks like it all worked out for lighting these up, and was able to save quite a bit of money by just doing it myself. So now I'm going to move on to a little bit of the dash, since I still need to make a mounting plate for the amp. And then that way I can get some of these controllers mounted up on the dash and kind of out of the way. The dash I decided to go with is the double take Sentry dash. I really like it because you still get all the cup holders, you get storage still, and you still have use of these pockets here, which I do like. So if we go to the golf course, we can still have, you know, space for things like that. And there is a tray that sits in here that will cover all the electronics, but it's really nice too because you can wire everything to all the electronics, then put the tray in, and it's all covered, and also really accessible just by removing the screws. Most of the electronics will be mounted up here in the front, so I'll have to cut them all into the faceplate of it. But things like the 6-switch panel, the gauges for both battery meters, and then the amp control, the Bluetooth amp control, will be mounted there also. So here's where we sit now. I actually forgot to bring my tripod home with me, so I didn't get a ton of it recorded, but most of it was just pretty basic wiring, so not really exciting. I did run the positive and negative leads for the amp along with the remote wire, which is not currently hooked in, but it's going to be hooked into the first spot of this switch panel. So it's going to be hooked into the first part of this switch panel, and so I'm going to have the remote wire, and positive wire for the Bluetooth controller all hooked into the same spot, so that when I click number 1 on, it'll turn on pretty much the entire audio system. I also ran the speaker wires from the front 2 speakers back to the amp just to make sure that everything was wired correctly and working. Just to kind of show what I do when I wire, or when I run wire. So this is the speaker wire right here from the back, and it's just red and black, I believe 14 gauge wire. And I use this braided, kind of like a nylon cover, and it's a little bit time consuming to put on because you have to slide it on the entire wire, but it is really nice and adds a lot of abrasion resistance. And then I put just a heat shrink with adhesive on the ends of it just to kind of keep it all held together. And to me, it just gives it a really nice clean look, and I don't ever have to worry about, you know, these rubbing holes through any of the wires and cause them to become bare. So I'm going to run these 2 wires to the back 2 speakers, get them fully mounted. Then all the entire audio system will be done, except for just mounting the amp, which I still need to make the plate here, and then cutting out the part in the dash in this faceplate here for the Bluetooth controller, which is right here. This is a wet sound Bluetooth controller made for a rocker panel, but I'm going to cut out the size slot so that it should slide right in. And I have tested it out. It does send sound to the speakers. So I ended up getting a decent amount done in this video. Got the entire body installed and wrapped. Still have maybe a couple pieces that I'll wrap in the back. Some of that may show under the seat, but that'll be pretty easy to put a couple pieces there. I absolutely love the color. Got the entire 12-volt system wired in with the master kill switch there for the 12-volt system. Amps all wired in. Speaker wires are all run to the speakers, but not to the amp yet. All the wiring is done for the lights on the speakers. Most wires are run to the dash. I just need to cut out the faceplate there for some of the stuff. And you may be wondering why I would have a master kill switch on the 12-volt power and not just run it from a relay off just the switch for the cart. And the reason I do that, it's actually more of a safety thing. I like to be able to park the cart, take the key out, and then it can't be driven, but I can still listen to music, I can still have lights on and things like that. Because if it's not wired in separately, then you have to have the key on in order to listen to music or have lights or anything. And all it takes is for someone to just, you know, crawl in. I have a 3-year-old, and press the gas pedal and the cart goes. And now the Navita system, I can lock it out through the app, but it's one of those things that it's a little bit of a hassle, and I don't do it every single time. And I'd rather just be able to quickly pull the key out and everything still functions, then we want to go again, just put the key back in. But that's gonna pretty much do it for this video. I'm hoping that I can get this cart completely finished in the next part, minus maybe a few things. But we're getting pretty close on it. Have the rear seat to put on, have a little bit more of the electronics to do, and really just kind of buttoning up a few things, getting the wheels put on and ceramic coated. But it's definitely coming together. The wiring is the most tedious part, and most of that's done at this point. If you'd like to see how the rest of this cart turns out and how I finish it up, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks.